Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Urban Legends video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's do another entry here. One final one here to wrap up this series for this go around. Give it a brief rest and then start focusing on another new series too. This is actually not based on any suggestion but more of a follow-up of a theme, certain subject matter that I've talked about several times in the past that were very, very popular. This had to do with the Dyatlov Pass Incident, something that I did 3 videos on. It was a 3-parter, no less. A couple of years back, they got some really good views, really good comments as well. And then I did another video dedicated to it too. If you haven't had a chance to see all those videos, I'll include the links for them below. They contain most of the information about the incident itself. And then I'd love to hear again what your thoughts are on those items. I still have people that watch those regularly because I get new comments on them on my YouTube Studio app. But this one has to do with an article that I found last year. It's basically stating a solution associated with the Dyatlov Pass incident, like what really occurred. It was based on a study that was done as well. And darn it, if it doesn't make sense when it comes to the answer, like what really happened to that expedition whenever they went up there on that fateful day in those mountains there in northern Russia, and then they obviously had something bad happen to them and lots of mysterious things that occurred afterward with how they were found, and then some other items I'll explain here in just a moment. But yes, this is going to be in this case a brief summation of this study, what it proposes, and let's see. I'd love to see what your thoughts are on this. It turns out it may just be actually just one real life item, not something extraterrestrial, not something cryptids and monsters related. Instead, it's a phenomenon that happens within the snow itself. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the solution to the Dyatlov Pass incident, and then I'll give my own thoughts and opinions on it afterward. So here's essentially what that study was stating, and I got most of the information actually from the article itself. The study went way into this. In fact, you'll see some of the screenshots related to it. Not only did they go all out when it came to the research, but they went down to like the formulas. They went down to statistics, quantitative analysis, and other type of models, as you'll see here. The kind of stuff that, again, is hard. Like, it's hard to understand, but it's apparently was all used in this study to state one thing. On that fateful day, on the day that this group went, and then they were mysteriously, like something happened to them that essentially caused their demise. It was all because of one thing, a slab avalanche. That's essentially what the study says. I actually had to look it up as well too to see what that meant, but it's something that we've actually seen before. If you've ever just come across random clips when it comes to showcasing skiers, let's say when they're in a location and they happen to be going down some kind of mountain filled with snow, you've seen it and I've seen it. I just didn't realize that there was a specific term tied to it. So a slab avalanche is when a large block of ice happens to break from its location, but only that part of the ice, not the entire surrounding area. So unlike an actual avalanche where you have a very large amounts of ice that all of a sudden just start careening down into the mountainside area, this is more of a specific one. In fact, you're looking at some examples of it here. You see what I mean? You've seen that before, right? You've seen that whenever, let's say, a skier goes down one location and then their skis hit just the right spot at the right time, and then that causes things almost like a piece of glass to break off. And then that's when that ice essentially slides down afterward, but only that piece of ice. The rest of it stays intact. That's essentially what the study says. It said that on that fateful night, somewhere along the way, who knows how long that ice had been building up within that location, but somewhere along the way when that group went there, and it even almost surmised that it could have been from the expedition itself, like in other words the activities that they did, setting up tents and so on, there was something that occurred that caused a small but still quite, large type of block of ice to go down that area. Now there wasn't, as you can see in these pictures here, there wasn't anything like very large, like a large slope to indicate, but still it was enough to cause that slab of ice to go down. And the force of it is what overwhelmed the group. That's what caused the tents, according to the study, that's what caused the tents to essentially be broken and found in their discombobulated status. That's what caused the some of the members of that expedition group to have broken bones, and I believe one of them had broken ribs as well. There's the idea that this thing hit with such enough force that it caught them all by surprise, and it was able to cause that great harm within some of them individually. I'm guessing that it all has to do with the angle, how the speed, and then how the people were sleeping, how those hikers were essentially just sleeping in a certain angle as well. And then when that thing hit, then that's what caused them to essentially be caught unawares. Right then and there, they were just hit in the middle of the night. And then when that occurred, everything was essentially doomed for them afterward. It was all about an extra set of snow. There was even the article stating that it had to do maybe even with winds, strong gusts that pushed some air down into the slope. And it's all about finding the right pressure. It's all about that extra bit of gravity that would cause the tiny crack to form. The article even stated that that crack could have grown from a certain time period, and then it was just that little extra push that caused it to break off. I mean, talk about the worst luck in the world if that was true. Here you had these hikers from the Dyatlov Pass Incident. They, of all days of the year, of the number of years, of the decades, in fact, who knows how long that was building, but they just happened to be there on that night, and then that's when that crack broke, and then the rest was history. It also helped explain why some of them were found without much clothing. There's the idea that this slab, if it would have truly caused so much damage and it was so abrupt, that they would have been almost like in a situation where they were probably bundled up for the night, but they probably had lesser clothes on them. Like, in other words, they were in some blankets, in some, who knows what type of equipment is used in that situation to make sure that you're staying warm throughout the night, but they would have not been in full winter gear, like as if they were outside. And when that happened and this chunk of snow suddenly slid off and then struck them hard, then they would have been fleeing at that point, going off in some wilderness direction. Imagine that at night too. No lights, nothing except the actual hopeful light from the stars itself. You have no idea where you are now because you've been tumbling away for quite some time, and then when you get up, all of a sudden all you see is blackness around you, and it's extremely cold. I mean, talk about a horrible situation all around when it comes to that. In fact, the article was stating that it could have potentially been a 600-pound block of snow that would have hit them. That's what the study debated as well. That's when it was just something along those lines where it was 600 pounds, about 16 foot long. That could have been the closest approximation associated with this slab avalanche. Crazy stuff, right? And it does, and darn it again, if it makes sense. Here you have a situation where if something like this occurred, where normally people are stating when it's avalanches, it's something where people asphyxiate to death because they're caught, let's say, in several feet of snow and they can't get anywhere else and they're losing air around them. That did not happen to these victims, but here the situation involving a slab avalanche would make more sense as to what caused their situation. Now, the other theories as to stuff linked to radiation found, and then again I mentioned in one of my other videos about orange spheres in the sky as well. Some of the actual Dyatlov Pass crews, like they're the ones that mentioned that too, and so it could have been more of the world of aliens and UFOs, or even elsewhere like the Yeti or something else like a cryptid. All that stuff is still up in the air, but this at least is a more realistic expectation of what occurred to them. And I have to say, I kind of side with this as well. This is truly something that when I was reading this information, I was originally reading it with skepticism, but it's making more of a believer for me too, especially with all the circumstances surrounding their location. Bad luck, at a bad time, but it was very realistic the way it was explained. But let me know what you guys think. Post those comments below. Is this truly just a real world situation that caused the Dyatlov Pass incident? Is it something involving that slab avalanche? Do any of you out there actually go in those areas, those areas full of snow, and then ski and so on? Love to hear what your thoughts are if you've ever seen something along those lines or experienced something like that. And then that way you can tell us if that could truly be what occurred to them. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.